Fishing is just dull, and there's no changing that. It's not Blizzard's fault. The act of fishing itself is inherently boring. But there are a few things Blizz could do to make the secondary profession more alluring. First things first, let's look at the possibility of incorporating main professions into this activity. If we spice things up a bit, it might just encourage more players to fish, or at least give them the ability to make a profit off of those who do. Tailoring, for example, could provide us with an upgrade to our fishing poles. An additional reel of string could grant us the ability to cast dual hooks simultaneously. This would help us double our yield in half the time because, well, most fishermen just want to snag their cooking materials and leave as quickly as possible. Inscription could give us an alternative upgrade. Those who paint a mark of luck upon their poles would now have a chance to fish up long-lost valuables, like collectible coins or priceless mementos. Hell, the discovery of messages in bottles alone could open up an entire series of side adventures. Just read the waterlogged messages and see where the information leads you. Jewel crafting could turn precious gems into shiny baubles, objects that occasionally attract the eye of very special fish. These fish could be used for tons of things, like high-end buff foods, oil for engineering recipes, and so on. The more uses they have, the more valuable they'll be. And who doesn't like value? Enchanting could alter the course of our casting, drawing our bobbers toward fishing nodes like magnets to metal. I can't tell you how many times I've had to recast my line because my hooks missed the fishing node entirely. This is especially frustrating when you're in a hurry. Now let's change things up for the remaining professions. Instead of fishing pole upgrades, let's do something a little different. Engineering could supply fishing folk with sonic beacons, small electronic devices we could plant at the water's edge. The pulses they emit would disorient fish, occasionally causing them to foolishly leap onto the shore and into our collection barrels. Of course, Blizz would have to put several barriers in place to make this item feasible. The beacon could only be active for maybe 5 minutes at a time and have a 20-minute cooldown. Basically, this device would need to be a handy addition to fishing and not an alternative to fishing itself. Leatherworking could produce a fine set of fishing chairs. You unfold these things on the beach and then sit in one while you fish. Occasionally an NPC will appear and take the empty seat beside you. They'll fish for a moment or two but then quit, most likely because they're bored. But before they split, however, they'll toss you a random present, like bait or beers, whatever. The sky's the limit. Speaking of beer, alchemy could give us a cooler to keep our brews in. There's no real benefit to this other than the ability to get wasted, but hey, the alcoholics will love it. And finally, blacksmithing could create underwater diving suits. Maybe classify these things as mounts so they don't take up bag space, and give players who wear them the ability to breathe underwater. I admit, this idea has little to do with fishing, but perhaps this mount could be the product of fishing, like the plants themselves are BOE recipes that can be found inside fished up bottles. Whatever the case, blacksmiths are in desperate need of some more fun recipes. It's one of the weakest professions in terms of craftable mounts, pets, and toys. Main professions aside, there are other things Blizz could incorporate into fishing that would help improve it overall. A new UI for our fishing poles would be a much welcomed update. There are currently a handful of really unique fishing poles in game. So far I've managed to collect them all, but they're mostly just gathering dust in my bank tab. It would be nice if we had the ability to learn these items, like toys and heirlooms, and then select one as our chosen favorite. That pole then becomes the one we see whenever we hit our cast ability. Players who haven't collected any fishing poles will continue to use the default stick and string animations just like normal. This change would not only save bag space, but it would keep our characters armed. We'll no longer have to switch out our weapons in order to hold on to our fishing poles, so if we get attacked while fishing, we'll still be able to defend ourselves to the fullest extent possible. That leads me right into my next proposed addition. Let's throw some angry sea monsters into the mix. We have enemies that randomly spawn when we strike mining nodes or pick herbing nodes. Hell, even the act of uncovering artifacts sometimes draws attention of dangerous opponents. So why don't we add the same functionality to fishing nodes? There you are, just minding your own business, tricking helpless animals into biting down on sharp objects, when all of a sudden an angry creature from the Black Lagoon springs forth to dish out some PETA-style justice. You go round and round with this guardian angelfish, but he's just not strong enough to destroy you. Once he falls, you pack up his carcass and sell it to an open-air market. Based on rarity alone, you can easily classify Black Lagoon meat as a delicacy and demand people pay top dollar for it. I should mention that my free time's been very limited lately. I've been doing a lot of chores, mostly paperwork like taxes and shit, so my characters haven't set foot outside their garrisons in well over a week. That is, if you don't count all the times I've killed those god-awful Valentine's Day dungeon bosses this year. I honestly don't know why I bother to keep queuing for the fight. With a 0.03% drop rate, I'm never going to get that Love Rocket mount. Anyway, because I've had to be prepared to step away from my computer at a moment's notice, I've spent most of my time in-game fishing. This video is a direct result of that. I think I'm going mad with cabin fever, or garrison fever, whatever you want to call it. I'm so delirious that for some reason I'm operating under the strange assumption that people want to hear my thoughts on fishing. I should probably step outside and get some fresh air. But before I leave, I'll throw out one last idea. I suggest Blizzard add some actual content to the realm of fishing. Give us a tournament, for example. And not like that Sunday afternoon garbage in Booty Bay. I'm talking about a whole series of contests that run every day and reset at sundown. Nat Pagel could host this tournament in capital cities, giving players a renewed interest in visiting them. Nat could give server-wide awards for most fish captured during a 24-hour period, or most fish cooked in a day. There could be beggars at these tournament grounds that are willing to barter random objects in exchange for free meals. Traveling pirates and shipwrecked sailors could also make appearances here, offering dailies that require you to fish in hostile territory or PvP zones. Dishonorable merchants can teach you how to extract the poison glands from blowfish, so you can use them as biological weapons on the battlefield. There are tons of ways to integrate fishing into unique and enjoyable daily quests. Blizzard just needs to take the time to design them. Well, that's all I've got for today. I know fishing isn't the most exciting topic to address, but hey, not every video is going to be a world-class catch. Sometimes they're going to be small and shitty. That's life. So you can either cut them loose or suck it up and enjoy what you get. But seriously though, if you're still awake, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. And also, be sure to check through our entire library of videos.